No. 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 Okay, I love the rendering of the city like everybody else, but for crying out loud, these tanuki are bloody hard to find. This game has some interesting side missions. The game as a whole package is very repetitive, in many ways. It's not bad, it's just repetitive. It's a normal day in Tokyo, but this is a video game, meaning an extreme crisis is only moments away from hitting the Shibuya district. Again. You know how New York is the disaster centre for every movie ever? The Shibuya district is quickly becoming the same for video games. The fog rolls across the city, whisking the inhabitants away to somewhere, leaving only their clothes behind. Okay, here's a question. When all these people come back, assuming we don't cock up the rescue of course, are they all going to be naked? Because this game's a 12 certificate. Your character is knocked unconscious, taken for dead by a spirit and possessed. The spirit grants you the dual powers of magic and stubborn voiceovers.
Let's go.
Huh? What are you talking about? What are you?
Look, just quit fighting! This body's mine now. You're already dead, kid. If I leave your body, you're toast.
No way. What am I supposed to...
You don't have a choice about it. Obey me!
No, I can't! There's something I have to do.
You can now use your 2 fingers to give the visitors a severe case of wind.
Remember to block. Stop any hits you take. Hey, not bad. Now mop up the rest of them. You would have been dead without me against those things. Hey kid, didn't you have something you needed to do?
Right. I've got to get to my sister.
After you've subjected the enemies to the windy fingers technique, you don't even have to try to make a joke, it's just there. After you've blasted the enemies, it exposes their core, which you rip out using Doctor Strange's magic ropes, I think. The basic attacks were very confusing for some players, apparently. I mean, I can see why, because in most games, and I've noticed this myself a million times, each elemental type of damage usually affects different types of enemies in different ways. In this game, it doesn't. Wind attacks rapidly. Charge the attack to release several homing shots for only one shot of ammo. Water hits an arc, making it easier to hit a target. Charge to fire a wide blast that hits multiple targets. Fire blasts enemies backwards. Charge to release an explosive that detonates over a wide radius. Or, if all that is too complicated for you, wind is the pistol, water is the shotgun, fire is the grenade launcher. Not all the people have disappeared. Well, they have, but their spirits are still hanging around. Use the paper cutout shapes called katashiro, apologies if I've just butchered the pronunciation of that, to draw them in, Ghostbusters style.
They got sucked in.
Looks like it worked. Okay, now for step 2. See if you can find a phone booth around here.
Do they still have those?
Just go find one, kid.
Once you've filled up the katashiro on spirits, drop them off at the nearest phone booth. Because someone managed to rig every single payphone in Tokyo with a spirit transfer device. Public maintenance must have really slacked off to have not noticed. Make sure you purchase extra katashiro, don't forget, because they store the spirits that you collect. The more of them you have, the fewer trips between the phone booths that you have to make. In the starting area there's like a phone booth every 5 feet, but in some areas there's one phone booth for every 5 square miles. And do make sure you hoover up all the spirits you possibly can. It may be tedious, it is tedious, but it rewards you with cash to spend at the shops, and more importantly gives you XP. You can level up at the speed of a missile, if you're willing and determined enough to spend way too much time running around the streets and gliding across rooftops. Which is very good fun, by the way. The gliding is fun, not so much the running.
Should be safe now.
Don't fall, it gets you down. I'm kidding, you can't take fall damage in this game. I don't know why, but I find that vaguely disappointing. Especially since it can take you so long to climb to the top of some buildings without a Tengu to grapple to. Plus, it makes you dizzy in the process. Visitors are spectral in nature, which means they hate getting wet. And it rains every 5 seconds in Shibuya, apparently. A lot of them have umbrellas, which they can also use as shields, in between patrolling the streets for stray spirits and backhanding you across the face, which from a visitor can be fatal. Apparently the visitors in this game are all based on Japanese stories and myths, that kind of thing. Sadly, the in-game descriptions don't come with the story that inspired them. Some of them do have longer descriptions, but they seem to be the exception rather than the rule. I can't help but feel this was a missed opportunity. Yeah, sure, you'd have to read about it, and it doesn't affect gameplay at all, but it would have been nice for those who were curious like myself. Instead, we get things like, ooh, this one was annoyed when he was alive. Ooh, fascinating. Honestly, most of the foods have better descriptions than the enemies. Some people have called this a horror game. Yeah, only if you get very close to certain visitors. Upgrades are various and make you more effective in combat. You could purchase attack upgrades first, but that would be a mistake in my opinion. Purchase the basic skills first, that'll improve your survivability. Expose cores for longer, rip out cores at close range, rip out cores faster, and definitely go for the charge attack speed. It affects all your charge attacks. I may be making the combat sound complex. It really isn't. You've got 3 magic types. Apart from that, you've got a bow, which doesn't do much damage, and a set of talismans, which you're limited in number for, which help in the harder fights. That's it. The fog is deadly, and very much walls you in at the start. So much so, you do wonder, how exactly is there a narrow corridor right where I'm standing? To clear it out, you'll have to cleanse the Torii gates.
Finished. All that's left is the gate.
Cleanse enough of them and the map starts to open up. And it's round about this point it starts to feel more like an Ubisoft game. And yes, that's an insult. A map filled with collectible items, occasional side missions and other odds and ends. And you can end up sprinting around empty streets at times. It's not as if the visitors occupy every square foot. Far from it. Shrines can offer bracelets that enhance your powers in some way. The more you collect of a type, the more powerful the bonus. Smaller prayer shrines confer a permanent increase to the capacity of one of your magic types, which is really useful if the type happens to be fire. The Tanuki disguise themselves as everyday objects, with a tail. Collectible artifacts dot the streets and rooms.
What's that?
Matagama, apologies again if I'm butchering these pronunciations, Matagama unlock the higher level upgrades. And all that is on top of all of the spirits dotted all over the map. And some of them only drop from side missions, so add those to the list.
Take a look. See how that one's glowing red?
Wow. I've never seen a cherry blossom tree like that. Figured they'd show up.
Side missions are always brief. Some of them, though, are actually engaging, and you tend to find the ones that are more engaging are the ones where you don't blast everything in sight. Sadly, even those ones are over with way too quickly just as you're starting to enjoy them.
Zashiki Warashi? Where could she be?
She's gotta be in here somewhere. Keep searching. Locked. Gotta find a key. Can't believe he managed to hide an entire altar. Look here. There's an alcove.
Yeah, I see it. Down in the lower right of the blueprint. The Zashiki Warashi must be there.
Other side missions put me in mind of Control, or an MC Escher painting. They're always a treat to walk through, but again, sadly, all too brief.
Too far away. Put an arrow through it. Take aim, and then let it rip. Good. This place is safe now.
This mission was really short. I had to sneak up on an umbrella. No, that's it.
Back to a normal umbrella.
Slightly confusingly at first, there are 3 different types of consumables you can have equipped at any one time. Drinks restore some health, food restores a lot, and spectral food restores some health, plus bestows an extra benefit such as enhanced defense. Shibuya is a big place, which means there are shops dotted all over. Some are open air stalls, others though are corner shops, and they are all run by cats. And I'm having a hard time figuring out exactly why, but the corner shops are literally my favourite place to be in the entire city. One time, the so-called Demon Parade started coming down the street towards me, and I'm guessing it's a bad thing if it reaches you. So I looked around and there was a corner shop right there. The light's going out. That's what sold it for me. That was fucking awesome. While we're on the subject of hiding, you can sneak up on visitors, instantly taking them out. When some enemies or combination of enemies can deplete your health way too fast, it can be useful to cheat and thin out their numbers ahead of time. And speaking of cats, make sure the game's subtitles are turned on. They may be a distraction when talking to people, but without them, you can't understand what the local animals are saying to you.
Hold on, pal. We're not running a charity here.
Are you trying to shake down a cat?
Your Echo Sense range should be upgraded if you want to find everything in the district. And if you're a completionist like me, you will want to. It can be tricky finding that one spirit cluster, Matagama or Tanuki that you're missing. There are special encounters against unique visitor types, and no, I don't mean the bosses you have to face. They have to be hunted down though, and that's on top of everything else you're supposed to be looking for. You're always rewarded for finding stuff, no matter what the stuff is. You always get cash and XP. XP means you level up. Every time you level up, you get more maximum health and you get more skill points to spend on those precious survival skills. Everything you do, you are rewarded for it.
Yeah. She waited for you because you're a good guy.
Maybe you're right. Thanks to you both.
The downside, of course, is that all of these things are very repetitive. I mean, you have to be a collectaholic, like myself, to stand any chance whatsoever of not losing your sodding mind trying to pick everything up. Shibuya is beautifully rendered, the visitors are creepy. The movement system, at least when you're on the rooftops, is fun. And some of the side missions can be engaging when you're not just blasting everything in sight. My main problems with this game is the combat is a bit too simple for my liking, and it succumbs to the usual open world trappings that an Ubisoft game long ago came to symbolise. I remember when I started playing this game, when the fog walled you in and stopped you from wandering off. You had to go down specific streets and into the hospital and down narrow corridors and into rooms, and it was all planned and laid out. And then later on there was a building where the walls shifted round and objects switched position and everything went topsy-turvy. It felt very tight and focused and well planned. And then it went all Ubisoft on me, open world, and it felt like it lost its edge. It kind of lost its way, its direction. I can't help but wonder what this game might have been like if it had been a level by level affair instead of open world.
It's him.
A futile endeavor. Only I hold the key to these souls' salvation. Now stand aside. You are no savior.